All teenagers have different experiences of youth. But one thing in common, they make many foolish mistakes. An innocent and nerdy teenager, Doug Martin, is moving to a town near a pier with his mom and dad. He brings a lot of books to read, while his mother jokingly asks if he brings enough books to read during the summer holiday. Doug goes down to meet his friend, Carson. Carson takes him around and brings him to a bar where Carson works. Doug then goes home and shouts to let his parents know that he's home, but his parents are not there. He immediately enters his room to have some rest. As he opens the curtain, he sees out the window, a new couple is moved into the next house. And as a normal teenager, his eyes fixed on the beautiful and sexy wife. But not long after they go into the house, Lena, the wife, suddenly looks at Doug, which startles him, and then turns away from the window. Doug returns home and sees the couples have moved in. But his father is outside the couple's house and calls Doug to meet the new neighbors. Elliot, a rich middle-aged man, asks if Doug knows something about boats. Doug's father tells Elliot that Doug knows a lot about boats, so Elliot offers him to take a look at his boat and will pay him if he can fix some problems on the boat. The next day, Doug comes to inspect Elliot's boat. While checking the boat, he sees Lena coming back from a swim. Doug keeps watching her, as Lena goes to take a shower and takes off her swimsuit. Suddenly Elliot comes to ask him about the boat. Doug says that the problems are not serious and he can fix them. Elliot tells him that he won't be home in a few days, so they discuss Doug's pay. Doug agrees and promises to fix it when Elliot is away. At night, Doug is peeking out the window. He watches Lena change her clothes, when suddenly Elliot enters the room and forces to abuse his wife. The next day, when Doug is in his room, he suddenly hears a woman scream. Doug rushes over to her. It turns out Lena's car broke down and she's scared because of a spider. He then got rid of it and fixed the car. Lena then thanks him, but he is nervous when Lena comes near him. Doug then tells his friend about what happened, but his friend tells Doug to be careful and not mess with the husband. When Doug comes home, he sees Lena is sitting outside her house. They're having a conversation and it turns out that she has locked herself out of the house and can't get in. Lena asks Doug to break the window and get in to open the door. Doug then breaks the windows and opens the door for Lena, but Doug is injured by the broken glass when he enters. Lena forces him to stay for a while and then treats his wound. She hands him a beer and they start to talk. Seeing that Lena is so tempting, Doug can't hold his desire. He gets carried away and tries to kiss her. But Lena doesn't refuse at all, and the two start making out. Doug helps Lena to take off her clothes and they end up making love. The next they wake up like a couple. Lena asks Doug to keep this a secret from everyone. Day by day, they continue to have this affair and have sex again and again. Every time Elliot goes for a business trip, they always spend time together. Lena tells Doug that she has never felt happy like this for a long time. He then notices Lena has a tattoo on her foot, half-heart painting. Lena explains that she used to have a boyfriend and they have matching tattoos. But it's just her past when she's young, so Doug draws on Lena's foot to complete the painting of a heart. Suddenly, they're surprised because Lena's gardener accidentally sees them together. The next day on the pier, Elliot suddenly calls Doug. He's very panicked and thinks that Elliot found out about the affair. Elliot, who is holding Lena, asks Doug to take the boat out and make sure that it is seaworthy. Doug sees that Lena's thigh has bruises. Suddenly, the engine of the boat stops and Elliot goes to take a look. Lena approaches Doug and tells him that Elliot is having an affair, and she wants to divorce him. Elliot then comes out and asks Doug to fix the engine. At night, Doug receives a call from Lena. She says that Elliot beat her up when she said she wanted a divorce. Hearing that, Doug rushes to the hospital to meet her. Lena is sitting outside the hospital, beaten up and sobbing. Doug tries to calm her down and wants to report this to the police, but Lena refuses. She's afraid that if they do so, Elliot will be mad and beat her even more. They then choose to go home. Later, when Doug is still at work, Lena sends her photo from the beach where she is lounging in the sun. She calls him to come over and they end up having sex in a boat shack. At work, Doug's friend asks about how his relationship with Lena is, but Doug doesn't want to tell him and just brushes these comments aside. They even have a secret place near the lake for them to meet and make out. One day when he goes home, Lena calls him. He rushes to his room and finds that Lena is already there. She says that there is a problem and she needs Doug's help. Later, Doug comes to her house and discovers that her husband Elliot is already lying on the floor in blood. Lena explains that they were in a fight when Elliot tried to attack Lena. She then defended himself by hitting Elliot on the head. She then found that Elliot is dead because of that. Doug wants to call an ambulance, but Lena forbids him, saying that she's too afraid and probably will end up in jail. She can't get in trouble and asks Doug what she should do, except for calling the police. Doug, who is trying to calm down, then tells Lena to hide the body for now, while he's figuring out how to solve the problem. He asks Lena to act normal for now. The next day Doug goes to work. When he's home, he learns that Lena is already in his house with his parents. They're acting so awkward in front of Doug's parents, and he then goes up to his room. At night, Doug rushes to Lena's house and angrily asks what was her intention by coming to his house. She apologizes and says that she's too afraid to stay in the house alone, so she went to Doug's house. He then starts to explain his plan, to make it look like an accident. But Lena says it won't work. The police will find out about it. So Doug comes up with a new plan. He will take Elliot's body to his boat, and make it look like an accident on his boat. He tells Lena to later tell the police that they had a fight and Elliot left the house. They start to clean the floor and get rid of all the evidence. They move the body to the car, and Doug starts executing the plan. It's very early, and right after the boat is sailing, a security guard there sees him and tries to call him. But the guard mistakenly thinks that Doug is Elliot, so Doug acts like Elliot and pretends that he didn't hear the call. Doug takes the board to the middle of the lake and then puts down a bottle of alcohol. He then sets the board on fire and makes it look as if Elliot was drunk and accidentally set his own boat on fire. Doug jumps to the water and swims home. Next morning, police are already investigating the accident. And of course they come to Lena's house to ask some questions. Doug is seeing them through his window. He then continues with his normal routine. While serving the sheriff, Doug overhears the conversation about the accident. It turns out that Elliot leaves a lot of money from the death insurance. Because of that, the next day an insurance investigator will come to make sure of the cause of Elliot's death. And the next day an insurance investigator, Alvarez, comes to the local sheriff to ask about the accident's chronology. She also calls Lena to be interrogated about Elliot's death. Alvarez then checks the house together with the local sheriff. But she finds a broken glass behind the house, with blood marks. They immediately bring that evidence to the laboratory for further investigation. They continue to come to Doug's house to ask some questions regarding where Lena was on the day when Elliot died. Doug's parents say that on that day, Lena visited their house. Alvarez also wants to inquire from Doug, so she invites him to come to the office. Doug has no choice but to follow the request, accompanied by his parents. At the police station, Alvarez interrogates Doug, but Doug looks calm answering all the questions. But she keeps asking and threatening Doug, making Doug's mother, who is also a lawyer, stop them. His parents then take him home. Doug's days are back to normal, until one day, he overhears some conversation regarding the accident. Security guards say that Lena made a new statement that all of this time, there is a stalker that is bothering her, and probably he was the one who killed Elliot. Hearing that, Elliot is very angry, but Lena sends him a message, asking Doug to meet in private. Doug asks what her intention is by saying that. She says that she was panicked when Alvarez questioned her, so she made up that story. Lena tries to calm him down and convinces Doug that everything will be okay because they have got rid of all the evidence. Doug says that their phones are also the evidence, so Lena tells him to throw away the phones in the lake. But because Doug is afraid that they can't contact each other again, he doesn't throw away the phones, but hides them in a secret place until the specified time. And they still have time to make out there. Back at home, Alvarez and the sheriff are already there. They want to match the DNA of the blood marks on the broken glass with Doug's DNA. Doug reasons he is in a hurry to go to work, but this time they have a warrant and promise to bring Doug to his working place after that. After that, the sheriff then takes Doug to work. Inside the car, Alvarez says to Doug that Lena receives $10 million from the insurance company for Elliot's death. Alvarez convinces Doug that he is about to be blamed and he is just being used as a scapegoat. Lena will get all the money but Doug will be put in jail. Doug rushes to meet his friend, Carson, and tells all of the story to him. Doug realizes that he might have been tricked by Lena. Carson suggests him to find the evidence and witness to prove that they have a relationship without coercion, so Doug can't be blamed as a stalker. Doug remembers that on his phone, he has the evidence of intimate chats and photos. And also the gardener who saw them in Lena's house. Doug is about to leave to collect his phone, but the sheriff Jack is there. He asks Doug about what's really happened, because he knows Doug's family well and knows that Doug hides something. Doug tells the sheriff to ask the gardener about his relationship with Lena, but the sheriff then finds that the gardener is already dead from being shot. Meanwhile, Doug arrives at the secret place where he hides his phone. But it turns out that the phone is already gone. Lena suddenly comes and says that she has taken the phone. Not long after, the police car is approaching. Lena immediately tears her own clothes and pulls Doug, making the situation as like Doug tries to rape her. The police come and arrest Doug. But before getting into the car, Doug tells Sheriff Jack that he is being framed by Lena. He begs for a chance to prove all of this. Sheriff Jack believes him and gives him 20 minutes to resolve this. Doug immediately runs to a motel where Alvarez took Lena. There, he looks into Lena's purse and finds his phone there. But then Alvarez comes and Doug explains what's really happened, about being framed, and shows his phone as proof. Alvarez then believes him and calls the sheriff to come. Alvarez says that he has explained the situation to the sheriff and will bring Lena to the office to arrest her. To make sure that Alvarez doesn't run away, she handcuffs him and tells him to wait for the sheriff to come. Doug looks relieved and believes he is safe now. But all of his ease changes after he sees the tattoo on Alvarez's leg. As Alvarez brings Lena into the car, they have matching tattoos. Doug then remembers that Lena said it was a matching tattoo with her first boyfriend. But it turns out that he has been tricked again. Doug tries to grab the phone and calls the police, but the telephone line has been disconnected. Alvarez was just pretending that she called the sheriff, but she didn't. They had it all planned. Lena and Alvarez are a couple who planned all of this to receive $10 million. Now, he has officially become the scapegoat. At the end of the movie, they come back to tease Doug. But Lena leaves Doug's phone outside the house, but after getting rid of all the chats and photos inside. What do you think? Doug got what he wants, which is to have sex with a hot woman. But at what cost? Was it worth it? What a plot twist of this mystery movie. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.